Extraordinary Americans. My name is Cosmos, and this is Extraordinary America. What is Extraordinary America about? Extraordinary America is about the abolition of financial slavery. It is about the financial freedom of the 99%. Why? Well, you see, the essence of America and being American has always been freedom, opportunity for a better life, and the pursuit of happiness. However, most Americans are not free when it comes to the financial front. Most Americans are financially enslaved. They're having massive levels of wealth and income inequality. They're living paycheck to paycheck. Many of them are working dead-end jobs, barely able to make their ends meet. Now, because of this pandemic, many of them have actually lost their jobs, right? And moreover, of those that do have their jobs, they're living in a narcissistic work culture where they're treated really badly, right? Most Americans do not have an opportunity for a better life and are further financially enslaved because of the reduction of their purchasing power and overall wealth over a long period of time. This has been due to stagnant wages combined with inflation of the fiat money, which has led to rising prices, right? And now in order to make ends meet and maintain their lifestyle, they had to take on massive levels of debt, right? Which means that they have become further financially enslaved. And in the very near future, most Americans will not have the ability to pursue happiness because of the current economic recession or depression that is created by this pandemic, followed by a hyperinflation of our fiat money because the banks and the government are going to be printing money in massive amounts without it being backed by anything tangible, right? So therefore, Extraordinary America is about the abolition of financial slavery. It is about the financial freedom of the 99% because we should not be working for money. Money should be working for us. How is this to be done? In the short term, this is to be done by protecting your purchasing power of your dollar, which is basically fiat money, into tangible assets like gold, silver, or cryptos, which will protect your money from getting devalued from the upcoming inflation or hyperinflation that will happen in the near future. And in the long term, the way we do it is basically through number one, transformation of the 99% into entrepreneurs and investors on the light side. Number two, the creation of Jedipreneur institutions that help in the first point, along with creating a universal basic income and providing the 5 essentials of food, water, shelter, healthcare, and education. And number three, the replacement of the fiat monetary system, not with a gold standard, but with a human upliftment standard or the American dream standard. Now, in today's video, I want to talk more about the first point, which is the transformation of the 99% into entrepreneurs and investors on the light side, and why that is a solution compared to the current economic ideologies we have, namely dark side and neutral capitalism, socialism, and communism. In a previous video, I gave the analogy of the mountaintop, right? Where you're going up the mountain, right? Where the 99% and the 1% are going up the mountain. And basically, communism is about getting everybody, the 100%, to the bottom of the mountain, and everybody's equally poor, right? There's equal poverty for all. Then, except like the government officials who are in power, right? Then socialism is about like the 1% going up the mountain and 99% basically raising the taxes and reducing the 1% to a place in between halfway point in the mountain and the bottom of the mountain at the same level as them, right? But you see, the problem is like the concept of envy and basically the have-not philosophy, right? And I know that it feels really bad when we do not have something and somebody has something that we perceive they attained unfairly or whatever, right? But there's two ways to go about that, right? We've all been in the situation where we have had this have-not feeling, where we have had envy for somebody that has had more than us. And the thing is, there's only two ways to fight it, right? Either we bring that other person down to our level, or we can lift ourselves up, get motivated, and through self-improvement, we can go up over there, right? I mean, obviously that might seem like the harder choice, but it is also the positive choice, right? So, and then dark side capitalism and neutral capitalism is basically about the 1% going on the top of the mountain, and then in the case of dark side capitalism, exploiting the 99% and keeping them at the bottom of the mountain. And neutral capitalism is about the 1% going to the top of the mountain and not caring about what happens to the 99%. At some cases, Like it's exploitation. Other cases they're uplifting. Many times it's just what's in it for me. Like I don't really care about the 99%. What we want is a form of entrepreneurship investing on the light side where you have one percenters, right? Who became one percenters, right? They have empathy and compassion for the 99%. They go to the top of the mountain and then they help the 99% go up to the top of the mountain and like one by one if necessary, right? It's basically a form of like compassion or empathetic capitalism or Jedipreneurship, as we'll find out more later, right? So I want to let you know like why entrepreneurship investing is the only way to do that, because the only way to become rich is through leveraging a business system, because wealth is created by systems, not by people. Now, what is the root cause of poverty, right? For thousands of years, we've been giving charity to the poor, and we've been giving people essentially like fish, right? But the root cause of poverty is not necessarily due to governments, right? It is about would they also play a role? But the major thing is in the thoughts and actions of the people, right? Basically, when you think and act in a certain way, it either leads to poverty or it leads to wealth. And for thousands of years, the 99% has been thinking and acting in ways that has been creating poverty, which is basically a scarcity mindset, right? And due to a group mentality, we are the combination of the 5 people we hang out with the most. If the 5 people we hang out with tend to be poor, we adopt their mindset and we become poor ourselves, right? So what we need to do is basically think and act in ways that actually create wealth, right? Think and act in ways that of the 1% on the light side, right? And now the second point, which is in addition to the first point, is basically the reason we have been having poverty for so long is because of a law of ego culture amongst the 1%ers and in society at large. What do I mean by that? Right? So basically the first point was that obviously a lot of us, like the 99% has been having a scarcity mindset, right? But now you have these 1%ers that are on the dark side. And when I talk about it is that in humanity at large, there's a spectrum of behavior, right? We have the empaths on one side and we have the narcissists on one side. And basically empaths are based on love and narcissists are based on fear. And then in the middle, there's the neutrals, who are based on self-interest, right? And so on the light side of the spectrum, the way of thinking and acting is about raising all the ships together. It's about creation, coordination, and cooperation. Whereas dark side behavior or narcissistic behavior is about putting yourself up at the expense of the other person, like bringing everybody else down through ruthless competition, exploitation, and one-upping them, right? And so this behavior, right, this dark side behavior is prevalent in society at large and in humanity at large. And the same thing applies to entrepreneurs as well, entrepreneurs and businessmen, right? You have these 1%ers, right? And in today's world, a majority of these 1%ers are either neutrals, where they're basically governed by self-interest, and sometimes they help humanity and sometimes they don't, or they're dark side entrepreneurs and investors who have the mindset of exploiting other people, right? What we need is people based on the empath way of life, like entrepreneurs that are actually empathpreneurs. And if you go to the extreme, basically Jedipreneurs, right? What are Jedipreneurs in brief? They're basically people that create wealth for the 99% in the name of the Father of the universe, because everybody is actually one. All of humanity is basically one family, right? And they treat all of humanity as one family, and they act accordingly to that belief, right? And then you have the empathpreneurs that are based on self-interest, but it's an enlightened form of self-interest. It's love and self-interest combined together, right? So in essentially people react from a place of love, from a place of self-interest, and a place of fear, right? The combination of fear and self-interest is basically the narcissistic way of doing it. And if you put just complete fear, it's basically the Sidpreneur, who's at the other extreme, who basically want to create misery and suffering on a massive scale. They're all about cheating, lying, and basically destroying and one-upping the other person in order to come out on top. What we need to do is have like the 1% way of life that's based on empathpreneurs and Jedipreneurs, and teach others how to do the same way. Because when we do it in that way, when we do it through the law of one way or the empath way, it raises all the ships combined together, right? We think in a millionaire mindset, but through the empath way, we're raising all of the ships together versus like the dark side capitalism way, where basically you have these few 1%ers that are putting everybody else down because they have that philosophy where they want of the ego, right? So that is basically what it is, right? Law of one and law of oneness and interconnectedness versus law of ego. That is the second reason why that poverty has been perpetuated for so long, right? Because under that law of ego philosophy, you have all these businesses that are competing with each other and trying to destroy each other. And so in the process, many people lose their jobs too, right? And so you have three types of economies based on that. You have a Jedipreneur economy or an empathpreneur economy. You can have a neutral economy, or you can have a narcissistic or Sidpreneur economy, essentially, right? Based on the mindset of the people that are being entrepreneurs and investors. And what we want is we want more and more people to become empathpreneurs and Jedipreneurs with the law of one concept of doing things, or the abundant mindset of doing things. They are coming from a place of creation, cooperation, and coordination. And they're coming from a place of love and the positive side of self-interest. And that is how we can raise the 99%. And the third reason why poverty has not been eradicated is because of a lack of incentives when it comes to human nature, right? We as a humanity are governed essentially by our lower nature and our higher nature, which is more godly in nature, right? So you have the lower nature, which is essentially what we call the human nature, that is based on petty self-interest. And we ask, what's in it for me? And so it is a necessary thing that needs to be addressed. What we need to do to eradicate poverty is to redirect human nature, the river of human nature, towards upliftment of humanity. And we have to do that in a very conscious way, right? And so that is what I have to tell you regarding why we should have entrepreneurs and investors on the light side, because that's the only way. I'm telling you right now, it's the only way to eradicate poverty on a permanent level, is when we teach an entire civilization the entrepreneur and investors way of thinking and acting, but on the light side rather than just the dark side or the neutral way that we have been having so far, right? That is how we can create an economy that works for all, right? And we also need systems and institutions that propagate this thing, where we transform the 99% into entrepreneurs and investors on the light side. Anyways, in the next video, I'm going to talk about the second point that assists this first point, that is the creation of Jedipreneur institutions and how it can actually enable the transformation of the 99%, as well as help with the creation of a universal basic income and the provision of the 5 essentials. Why? Because in the end of the day, we are basically children of one Father of the universe, and we are all one family. And that is how it should be, right? If you like what I am talking about and want to see more, please subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.